Well, it really has not been a good week for the Tories. Um, the Partygate continues to be an ever-evolving scandal. Boris Johnson's popularity is slipping in the polls. We have seen polls not only in the red wall but down south as well in very strong Conservative seats that not only in a potential general election do they lose both the red wall, but potentially some seats down south as well could lead to a potential complete collapse. And now, on all of these things, there is a potential here. Potential, not confirmed, of course. We'll have to see, shall we say, how Mr. Farage decides to act. But it looks like Farage might be, should we say, decide to ride back into the fray of British politics. And if he does so, could rattle the Tories even more, because there is now new research that has been shown to the Tories that Farage could even split the right-wing vote even more, which, should we say, will not, should we say, lead to things very good for the Tories. But of course, we've got to remember what happened last time. Farage's one of the main goals he had, especially with UKIP, was to move the Conservative Party more to the right. And over time, what has happened is, while he has indeed succeeded in moving the Conservative Party toward the right, the Conservative MPs that were indeed elected by this UKIP infiltration into the party have been even more right-wing. The thing is, there are a lot of moderates still in the Conservative Party that are themselves not happy with them moving even more further right. And as a result, there has been an attempt in the party internally to try and stop this lurching even furthermore to the right. And potentially now we've seen this, which gets very interesting. But again, if Farage does decide to, shall we say, wade back into the fray at the next general election, could cause the Tories even more upsets, because if he splits the right-wing vote, combined with all these things that we've seen with like the resurgence of the Lib Dems, and of course potentially the Tories losing the red wall, which all the data suggests that they probably will at the next election, this could lead to a potential total wipeout of the Tories, which could be potentially very interesting. And again, something worth bearing in mind for the future. But as always, with these type of things, you never know what's really going to happen. And of course, we'll have to see what Farage does with this. But needless to say, this is making probably the Tories very, very nervous reading for them. So before we do dive into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called, pardon me, Buy Me Coffee, where you can indeed buy me coffee. And as always, there are the YouTube memberships down below open as well. So as always, let's dive straight into this. This comes to us today from Politics Home. The title of Rattled Tories Briefed on Research Showing Farage Could Split Right-Wing Vote. Exclusive. Conservative MPs this week have been left feeling unnerved by research showing a possible return of Nigel Farage to the forefront of politics would do significant damage to their chances of winning the next general election. New analysis, which Politics Home understands has been shared privately with a number of senior government figures, will put more pressure on ministers to deal with the Channel crossings, which have been at the centre of Farage's latest criticism of the government. Tory MPs briefed on the research, which looks at a number of key battlegrounds at the next election, has been set to be made public in the coming weeks. This came away very, very worried that attacks by Farage over the Channel crossings could lead to significant numbers of right-wing votes being diverted away from the Conservatives to alternative parties. Splitting the Conservative vote this way would offer Labour an easier path into the government, and Labour has soared in the polls in recent weeks in the wake of the Downing Street party scandal, and with Redfield and Wilton strategies now polling them at least 13 points, 13 points ahead of the Tories on Monday. Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, has been under intense pressure to come up with ways of stopping people from attempting this very perilous journey to the UK, with Conservative MPs complaining that it regularly comes up on their doorsteps. The government was reportedly planning to make an announcement on Channel crossings this week as part of plans to try and shore up the Prime Minister's very wavering leadership, dubbed Operation Red Meat. Sky News even reported on Monday that the Home Office had shot down a Downing Street proposal to use sonic weapons to deter people from attempting the journey. The cannons, known as long-range acoustic devices, emit loud, high-frequency noise capable of making people vomit. Farage, of course, the leading Brexit campaigner and former leader of UKIP, has hinted at a return to politics in recent weeks, while criticising the government over a number of people illegally making the journey from France to the UK. He has also attacked Boris Johnson's plans to raise taxes and his net zero policies. Politics Home understands that Farage standing as a candidate at the next general election is very highly unlikely. Instead, he plans to become a far more vocal and visible campaigner for the Reform Party, the former Brexit Party, which was founded by Farage and renamed after the UK left the EU, and it's currently led by Richard Trice. In November, Farage wrote in the Telegraph that he would give, quote, serious thought to a comeback, and that he'd been approached by several financial donors encouraging him to do so. Johnson is fighting to stay currently in Downing Street with significant public backlash, with talk in the Conservative Party already turning to a potential successor if he is ousted by Tory MPs. Chancellor Rishi Sunak and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss are widely seen to be the frontrunners to win any leadership contest, but several other names are in the mix as well. Jeremy Hunt, the former Health Secretary, finished second to Johnson in 2019 in the 2019 contest, told Politics Home that his ambition to be the Conservative Party leader and Prime Minister has not completely vanished. And of course, Penny Mordaunt has also emerged as another dark horse candidate among the Conservative MPs, with an ally of the ex-Defence Secretary refusing to deny a future bid, Politics Home has reported. So overall, that could be very interesting. If Farage does make a return to politics, then we're talking about, of course, the Reform Party. And as I've said before, there is a very serious concern about the Reform Party if they do decide to run. I've said before that House of Lords reform is something that we on the left need to take very, very seriously, because not only is it popular on the left, it is very popular on the right as well. And one of the things that we cannot allow the right to run away with here is the reforming of the House of Lords, because they would reform the House of Lords to suit them. And we cannot allow that. We have to reform it our way to turn it into a House of regional representatives, which is elected by PR, or a single transferable vote in the case of which form of PR we want. That would far change, a bigger sea change in politics this country has ever seen, if we can manage to do that. And here's the thing, as much as, again, I do want the Commons changing to a proportional representation vote, it is far easier sell for the House of Lords than it is for the Commons. And the thing is, if you sell it in the House of Lords and you can show the British public how good it is, then guess what? The House of Commons becomes an even easier sell. So this is something that we need to pay attention to and we need to keep an eye on, because we cannot allow the right to lead the charge on that. The left has to recognize that this is an opportunity and it's something that we need to lead on. So as much as I'm really happy about the recent push by local Labour parties to push for proportional representation and reform of the election system, there needs to be the added element of this needs to be also looked at for the House of Lords as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all